Hey guys, I'm Patrick with Fstoppers.com, and big thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this video, where today we're going to turn this boring white studio into a really cool photo set. So here we are, we're with Erica, and you are a former Miss South Carolina teen.
Yes.
Did I get that right?
Yes.
And she's got this really cool dress, and we figured, why don't we try to take some kind of whimsical type photo here in the studio, but as you can see, it's really boring and white. So with some simple fabric, some foam core, I'm gonna try to transform this boring set into something really cool. So the first thing I wanna do is I wanna add some fabric to the background. Now we have an electronic background stand here, and I have a bunch of fabrics from West Elm. And if I bring this down, you've probably seen these backdrops in a lot of the videos we've produced. And I think I want this just barely off the ground so that it doesn't wrinkle. And what I'm thinking, since I have two different backgrounds, I'm thinking of actually maybe putting a wall here so that we have a smaller room that feels like an intimate space. So one thing I learned when we did a tutorial with Clay Cook about a year ago is that he likes to use these foam core sheets, and just by adding some paint to them, you can get these really cool textures. So this sheet, I just got this at Lowe's, and I just painted it black, and then I put some chalkboard paint on it and just actually put chalk on it, and came up with this cool rustic background. As you can see, it's kind of chipping apart, but we can fix that in Photoshop. So my thought is, if I just kind of position this here, I can essentially build like a little room that we can put our model in, and we're really starting to break away from the white cyc wall and create something that will look more like an intimate space. Now for this shot, I'm imagining that Erica is going to be sitting on this stool. She's probably going to be facing this way. But as you can see, even if we light this in a really dramatic way and we really finesse the lighting, I think this floor is just going to look really boring. Plus it's white. It's going to bounce up a lot of fill, and it's going to kill a lot of the shadows that I'm trying to produce. So we actually have this piece of fabric here in the studio, and this is actually used for a backdrop. We usually hang this. So what I think I'm going to do is just position this on the floor so that we have something other than the white cyc wall. Now I can tell this sheet isn't as dark as I would like. It's kind of a medium gray, but I know in Photoshop I'm going to be able to really play with the exposures and make this floor even darker than it already is. And I'm just going to make this really messy. I want it to be very wrinkly. In fact, you know what could be cool? I'm thinking, what if we put maybe like some of these sandbags underneath this so that it gives it some texture? It might actually make it look like we're on a rocky environment. It's really going to completely destroy the idea that we're in a normal studio space with a flat floor. So I'm just going to position some of these sandbags underneath here, and we can actually tuck them in. So as you can see, just by adding something under the fabric, we're able to create a floor that looks totally different than any floor space you'd normally shoot in. So we have this basically roughed in. Let's get Erica in here and do our first test shot. So I think for this shot, I want to create a lot of shadows coming down, but I still want them to be soft. So I know I'm not going to use a hard light. And I think if I have Erica pointing and facing this direction, I think I want my light source to come kind of from camera left. What I have here is a Profoto B1. This is their battery-powered lights. I like these because you don't have to run the cables. And I have the 3-foot Octabox on this, which is going to give us a nice soft light. And because I can boom this up over Erica and get it really close to her, I'm going to be able to create really dramatic shadows and highlights while still having a relatively soft light source. So I'm just going to put the light basically right here, and let's do a test shot and see what this looks like. So as you can see in this first shot, I really like the way the light's falling on Erica now, but I'm really having to play around with where my camera is so that I get the background and everything to fall exactly where I want. Now I'm shooting with the Nikon D850 and the Tamron 24-70. I'm actually shooting close to the 70mm range, and I'm positioning myself in my studio to where I'm really off to the corner, I'm really low, so that one, I can get the background to look exactly like I want it, and by angling my camera lower to the ground, I'm able to make this floor look a lot more elevated, and it has a lot more texture than when I'm shooting up high down on it. Now another thing I noticed looking at this photo is that all of the texture in the foam core that we have isn't showing up at all. So what I think I want to do is put another boomed B1 up in the air, firing at the background, but I don't want light spilling all over the place. I just want like a little accent and show just a little bit of that texture. So let's put the next light behind Erica and see if we can pull out just a little more detail in the background. So I have a ProPhoto B1 up on this boom stand, and I've put a 10-degree grid on it. And basically what this is going to do is just kind of skirt some light across my backdrop and just really give a little accent. It's not going to bring too much attention to the background, but it's going to allow you to see some texture back there. So I'm going to take another test shot here and see how this light affects the background, but I don't want you guys to feel like you have to replicate the power settings exactly. I'm just building this up light by light and kind of going on feel. I get one light to look perfect, and then I play with the second and third lights until everything looks great on set. And I really like the way the light's hitting that background. I think it just pulls that detail out and it makes the image look a little more exotic. So as I look at this image, I feel like our 3-foot octabox is lighting Erica really well, but it's also casting a lot of light right in front of her, and I feel like that's really distracting. So what I want to try to do is get maybe some black cards and block some of the light so that it's still hitting her, but a lot of this softbox isn't also lighting the space right in front of her. So this is probably one of the most professional apparatuses we've ever had in an Fstoppers video. Basically, it's a light stand with a super clamp and then 2 pieces of black foam core. And so basically what I'm trying to do is flag the light so that the majority of the softbox is hitting Erica, but this black foam core is going to be blocking a lot of the light coming down here in the front. Now, I'm probably not going to be able to block all of the light, but in post-production, we can also burn that to make it a little bit darker. I can pull the exposure down in RAW, but I just want to get it as close to being right in camera so that I don't have to deal with it later, and it sets the overall mood while I'm looking at the back of the camera. So now that we have our key light flagged just a bit, let's take another test shot and see how much of a difference this makes. And as you can see in this test shot, the light hitting the front fabric is really diminished quite a bit. I think this is going to make our lives much easier in post. So I think we're very close to having a final photograph here. The one last little thing I want to do is I feel like the light on her legs and on the back of the dress could be accentuated just a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is put another strobe a little bit lower, firing directly at her legs. And if I skirt it across the scene, I think we can get a nice little backlight that's really subtle that almost looks like it's the same light as the key light. So I have another ProPhoto B1 here, and I have a little tiny softbox that's been in our studio forever. This is like a 1x1 softbox. I really like small softboxes. They're really useful for things like this. So I think I'm just going to position this so really only half the light is going past our wall here. And I'm going to set this to the lowest power. I'm at 2.0 on the ProPhoto. And again, the idea is just to add a little bit of light to her legs and give a little bit of backlight to the scene without throwing light all over the place. So now let's take another test shot and see how this image looks. So as you can see in this photo, I think everything looks pretty good, but right now I'm kind of shooting at Erica's waist level, which is making her look really stoic. So I'm going to get down and actually lay down on the ground here. And if you lay down like this and simply shoot over your body, I'm almost shooting a few inches off the ground. And if I take a shot here, you can see with these two images, I kind of like the look of this. She looks very iconic, and I think I like this position better. So now I think this shot is really dialed in. It's now time just to take a bunch of shots and get that perfect image. So there you go, guys. I think this turned out really successful. We got a killer shot. And this was a technique I learned from Clay Cook, where he builds a lot of sets in very small rooms, and he's able to produce images that look like they were taken on extravagant sets. So if you just take some of these tips, put them in your own photography, I have no doubt you'll be able to create really unique images that look nothing like the room you're shooting in. I want to give a big thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. If you're a photographer, you need a professional looking website. They're incredible. They make it so easy to build these things. They can help you with all the customer service that you need, including getting the domain and the hosting online, and they can help you get a cart so that people can start booking you and buying images off your website. If you guys want a little deal from Squarespace, head over to squarespace.com/fstoppers, where you can save 10% off your first purchase. If you want more photography content like this, head over to fstoppers.com. And if you want to learn from some of the best photographers, including Clay Cook, head over to fstoppers.com/store, where you can check out our full-length tutorials.